Most people argue about beef versus milk protein without knowing the real answer ever. Nobody has actually settled this debate properly, and today we are changing that completely. I spent weeks going through research papers so you do not have to do it. And honestly, what I found completely surprised me because results were nothing like I expected. Before we dive in, let me tell you exactly where I personally stand right now. If you asked me which protein is better, I would say beef without any hesitation. Beef is not just protein, it is honestly one of the most complete foods existing. It has B vitamins, zinc, iron, and minerals your body genuinely needs every single day. The food matrix inside beef is something that no protein powder can ever truly replicate. So when someone asks me beef or milk protein, my gut says beef every time. But here is where everything gets really interesting and why I actually made this today. When you look at real research comparing both proteins, things get complicated incredibly fast indeed. There are measurable differences between the two, and some of them genuinely shocked me personally. So let us stop guessing and walk through what the science is actually telling us. Most of us do not think of milk protein as a serious competitor to beef. When we hear milk protein, we picture a cold glass of milk on the counter. Or maybe we think about whey powder we toss into a blender after the gym. Some people have heard of casein, but most have no real clue what it does. Comparing milk protein to beef protein feels strange, because they seem like completely different worlds entirely. But that kind of thinking is exactly what keeps people from making smarter nutrition choices. There was a study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition I want to share. Researchers took 30 grams of beef protein and 30 grams of milk protein from participants. Then they did something incredibly clever by labeling amino acids using an isotope to track them. Scientists could literally follow those amino acids through blood and directly into the muscle tissue. They could see exactly where protein went, how fast it moved, and what it triggered. This kind of tracer study gives a much clearer picture than most nutrition studies ever do. And what they found completely flipped my expectations upside down in the best possible way. Beef protein absorbed faster than milk protein, and that was something I never saw coming. Most people assume dairy proteins absorb quickly because whey has that reputation in the fitness world. But this study showed beef actually moved into the bloodstream more rapidly than milk protein did. That is a wild finding, and it genuinely changes how we think about whole food protein. Now, both proteins triggered something called mTORC1, and I want to explain what that actually means. mTORC1 is basically the master anabolic switch inside your body that controls all muscle growth. When mTORC1 gets activated, your body shifts into growth mode and starts building muscle tissue. Both beef and milk protein triggered this switch at roughly the same level, which matters enormously. Neither one is dramatically better than the other when it comes to flipping that key switch. But the timing of when things happened was where the real difference between both proteins showed. The amino acid that drives most muscle protein synthesis activity is called leucine, and it matters. Leucine is the most anabolic amino acid we know of, and it is what researchers track. It is leucine that tells your body we have enough protein now, so start building muscle. The milk protein group had leucine levels of 277 micromoles per liter measured. The beef protein group had leucine levels of 231 micromoles per liter instead. That difference might not sound massive, but in the context of muscle growth, it absolutely matters. Higher circulating leucine means a stronger signal telling your muscles to grow and repair more aggressively. So if you care about maximizing muscle protein synthesis, milk protein had a slight real edge. Especially in those first couple of hours after consumption, milk protein spiked muscle synthesis more noticeably. Now here is the part where people reading studies too quickly would make a big mistake. If you only looked at the 2-hour data, you would think milk protein is dramatically superior. But when researchers looked at the full 5-hour window, total muscle protein synthesis evened out completely. This is an important lesson about how to actually read scientific studies without being seriously misled. Short-term data can look very different from the overall picture when you zoom out clearly. So the real takeaway is that both proteins work well, but the timing differs meaningfully here. Milk protein spikes muscle synthesis faster and harder early, while beef delivers a more sustained release. This is not a reason to pick one forever, but a reason to think about combining them. Now, milk protein is not a single thing, because it is actually made up of two fractions. Whey protein is the fast-digesting fraction that spikes amino acids quickly and hits muscles immediately. Casein protein is the slow-digesting fraction that releases amino acids gradually over several hours afterward. When you drink whole milk, you are getting both of these fractions together in one package. Whey gives you the rapid early spike, and casein gives you the sustained trickle lasting hours. This combination is actually what makes milk protein perform so well across that full 5-hour window. Now I want to be completely transparent, because I think honesty matters more than sounding impressive always. If I had to choose only one protein source for life, I would still choose beef always. Not because beef beats milk protein on every metric, because we have already seen that it does not, but because beef as a whole food brings so much more than just its protein content alone. The micronutrients, minerals, B vitamins, zinc, iron, and food matrix all matter enormously for your health. Protein powders can give you amino acids, but they cannot give you everything that beef does. From a long-term health perspective and whole food standpoint, beef remains the superior choice personally. But from a purely performance perspective, when the goal is maximizing muscle, milk protein has a real edge. Now, there is also a massive meta-analysis I want to share because it changes everything completely. Researchers looked at 116 different studies and pulled together data from over 4,000 participants. That is a serious body of evidence, and when that much data points one way, you listen. Out of all protein sources analyzed, both milk protein and beef protein came out on top together. These two were the most effective proteins for building muscle mass and improving strength compared to all others. That is a huge deal because most people waste time debating chicken versus beef or plant protein generally. But the data says it clearly that beef and milk protein are the two champions for muscle building. Now, between those two, milk protein came out slightly ahead, especially when researchers looked at actual muscle gains. The reason for that slight edge comes down to something called insulinogenic properties, which I will explain simply. Milk protein, especially whey, causes a notable insulin spike when you consume it, and that matters enormously. Insulin gets a bad reputation in some diet communities, but around a workout it is a powerful tool. When insulin spikes after a workout, it helps drive amino acids into muscle cells more efficiently always. The research found that consuming milk protein before and after your workout was the most optimal timing. Pre- and post-workout windows are when your muscles are most primed to absorb nutrients and respond. Having milk protein in those windows maximizes leucine delivery and maximizes the muscle protein synthesis response completely. Now, here is what I would actually do based on everything the research shows us right now. Surrounding your workout, have somewhere between 40 and 50 grams of milk protein, whether whey, casein, or blend. Prioritize something fast digesting like whey protein first so it gets into your bloodstream almost immediately always. Then also have some beef with that meal, because beef takes a bit longer to fully digest. The whey protein will hit your muscles fast within the first couple of hours after consumption always. The beef will then continue releasing amino acids gradually over the next several hours after whey comes down. And if you also add some casein into that meal, you have now created a sustained release effect. Whey hits fast, Casein sustains the middle ground, and beef keeps trickling amino acids for hours afterward. This is not just guessing, but engineering your protein consumption based on what science actually tells us. Now, casein protein specifically has a really underappreciated role when it comes to overnight recovery and muscle preservation. Your body is in a fasted state during sleep, which means no incoming amino acids for 9 hours. Having casein protein before bed helps fill that gap, because casein digests slowly through the entire night. Whether that is a casein protein shake or cottage cheese, which is naturally very high in casein content. The pre-bed casein strategy has been validated by research multiple times and consistently shows real benefits always. So let me bring this all together because I want the takeaway to be completely clear for you. Beef protein and milk protein are both genuinely excellent, and research consistently and strongly supports both of them. If you only care about whole food nutrition and micronutrients, then beef is your foundation every single day. But if you are optimizing for muscle protein synthesis and recovery, then milk protein has a real measurable edge. The absolute smartest approach is not choosing one over the other, but learning how to use both strategically. Have your whey or milk protein around your workout to capture that anabolic window when muscles are primed. Have your beef as part of your regular meals to get the micronutrient benefits and sustained amino acid release. Add casein before bed to protect your overnight recovery and keep muscle protein synthesis elevated while you sleep. Stop thinking about protein as just a number to hit, and start thinking about timing and source combination together. The people who build the best physiques are not just eating enough protein, but eating the right protein strategically. Beef and milk protein together are genuinely one of the most powerful nutritional combinations available to anyone serious. The research backs it up, the biology supports it, and practical results speak when people actually apply it. So stop debating which one is better and start figuring out how to use both together for you.